वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्। ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीम्। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैर्वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैर्गायन्ति यं सामगाः। ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तन्न विदुःसुरासुरगणा देवाय तस्मै नमः। भगवद्गीता अध्याय 16 श्लोका 23। यशास्त्रविधिमुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिमवाप्नोति न सुखं न पराङ्गतिम्। Chapter 16 is known as Daivasura Sampadvibhaga Yogaha. This chapter deals with the two types of sampat, the two types of qualities, namely Daivi Sampat and Asuri Sampat. Sometimes the Asuri Sampat is split into Asuri Sampat and Rakshasi Sampat. That is what we had seen earlier. Rakshasiim Asurim Chaiva Prakritim Mohinim Shitaha. Earlier in, I think, chapter 9, Bhagavan had discussed Rakshasi and Asuri Prakriti. There he had distinguished Rakshasi and Asuri. Among them, Asuri Sampat is predominantly Rajasika and Rakshasi Sampat is predominantly Tamasika. Here in chapter 16, Bhagavan combines them together and calls them Asuri Sampat. We have to understand Asuri includes Rakshasi also. both Rajasika and Tamasika tendencies are collectively referred to as Asuri Sampat. They are collectively mentioned because both of them are obstacles in the pursuit of moksha. Therefore, both of them are undesirable from the standpoint of a mumukshu. Therefore, a mumukshu is supposed to give them up, avoid them, get rid of them. That is why Bhagavan is not very keen on discussing them distinctly. What is Rakshasi and what is Asuri? He does not pay much attention to classify them. Both are equally undesirable from the standpoint of a mumukshu. That is why they are put together, considered together in the same group. So, Bhagavan began the chapter by discussing Daivi Sampat. Daivi Sampat is discussed so that one can cultivate Daivi Sampat. After discussing Daivi Sampat, Bhagavan discussed Asuri Sampat in great detail from Shloka 7 onwards. From Shloka 7 onwards up to Shloka 22. Of course, Asuri qualities were discussed up to Shloka 18. We can say up to 18, 7 to 18. Bhagavan discussed Asuri Sampat in great detail. Then he said, what is the phala of Asuri Sampat? If somebody cherishes Asuri Sampat in himself or herself, then what is the phala? Where does he end up? It is told from Shloka 19 onwards. Shloka 19 and 20. These two shlokas. And in Shloka 21, Bhagavan once again sums up the Asuri Sampat. If somebody wants to know Asuri Sampat in brief, how can I easily identify the Asuri Sampat? Bhagavan has summed up in 3 qualities. The 3 qualities are Kama, Krodha and Lobha. Desire, hatred and greed. And Bhagavan calls these 3 qualities as Narakasya Dwaram. They are the gateway of Naraka, gateway of an individual's downfall. Therefore, in Shloka 22, Bhagavan suggests an individual to avoid these three qualities, to be free from kama, krodha and lobha. It is not easy to be free from kama, krodha and lobha. Easy said than done. Therefore, one has to make special effort. It is not easy to get rid of them, but there is no other way to be free from naraka, to be free from downfall, and to one's own upliftment. There is no other way than making sincere effort to give up kama, krodha and lobha. Therefore, one should make effort to give up the three narakadwara, tamodwara. Tamodwara means narakadwara. They are the gateway to naraka, gateway to one's own downfall. And if somebody gives them up, eventually he attains moksha. Acharatyatmanaha shreyaha. He attains his own shreyaha, his own moksha, and thereby tatoyati param gatim. So, acharati means he works for his own moksha. If somebody gives them up, then he is sincerely working towards his own moksha. And therefore, eventually, tatoyati param gatim. He attains the moksha. Paragati means the ultimate goal. And the ultimate goal is moksha. Now, in Shloka 23, Bhagavan talks about another important aspect of Asuri Sampat. In fact, this can be understood as an indication of Asuri Sampat. If you want a thumb rule, how to know whether a particular tendency of mine is Asuri or not, the guideline is whether that particular tendency makes me violate the Shastra or not. If a particular tendency makes me violate the injunctions of the Shastra, makes me violate the guidelines of the Shastra, then it is Asuri Sampat. Instead, if a particular quality or a particular tendency makes me follow the Shastra, makes me adhere to the injunctions of the Shastra, then it is Daivi Sampat. For example, Shraddha. Shraddha is faith, trust in the Shastra. When I have Shraddha, I tend to follow the injunctions of the Shastra. Whereas the Ashraddha, lack of Shraddha, if I lack in Shraddha, I violate the injunctions of the Shastra. I start asking, why should I follow the Shastra? I ignore the injunctions of the Shastra, ignore the guidelines of the Shastra. Therefore, it is an Asuri Sampat. Ashraddha, absence of Shraddha, etc. Therefore, Bhagavan says, one who has Asuri Sampat, he disregards the injunctions of the Shastra. The Shastra Vidhi, the Shastra has Vidhi. Vidhi means injunctions. Incidentally, it is better to discuss a little about Shastra. What is Shastra? Shasanat trayate iti Shastram. Shastra is the one which instructs, teaches, and thereby protects an individual from the spiritual downfall. Such text is called Shastra. Such a body of literature is called Shastra. As an example, a mother tells her child, do this, don't do this. The mother tells her child. Sometimes the mother tells her child, eat good food, eat healthy food, do exercises. Why does the mother say this? So that it is so that the child gets some nourishment. The mother is interested in a healthy growth of the child. That is why the mother says, eat healthy food, do exercises, etc. And sometimes the mother says, don't do this, don't do that, don't touch the fire, don't smoke. The mother tells the child. Why does the mother say? Because the mother wants to protect the child from unhealthy habits, from disasters, from dangers. Therefore, as a hitaishi, as a well-wisher of the child, the mother gives some suggestions, gives some instructions, to the child. Not because the mother wants to exercise her control over the child. Likewise, the Shastra also gives some instructions, certain do's and certain don'ts, and they are meant for the good of an individual. If an individual follows the instructions of the Shastra, he is saved from downfall, and also following the instructions of the Shastra will help him in his own upliftment, in his own spiritual growth. The Shastra has certain do's. The Shastra says, do this. For example, do yajna, do dana, shraddhaya deyam, dharmam chara, follow the dharma, the Shastra says. If an individual follows that injunction of the Shastra, then he will get an invisible merit called punya. Whereas the same Shastra says, don't do certain things. Suram na pibet, do not drink alcohol. Ma himsyat sarva bhutani, do not hurt the beings. If an individual does those prohibited actions, then he will get an invisible effect called papa, which will eventually lead to his downfall. Therefore, it is one's best interest to avoid the actions that are prohibited by the Shastra, and also to follow the injunctions of the Shastra as much as one can. So that is the Shastra. Shastra is a particular body of literature, and this body of literature is primarily the Vedas. The primary Shastra is the Vedas. The Vedas are considered apaurushaya. There is no human author of the Vedas. Vedas are not written by any human authors. Unlike any other text, the Vedas were revealed by Bhagavan himself in the beginning of the Srishti to the Rishis who were born in the beginning of the Srishti. And then the Rishis handed over the Vedas to their Shishyas, and so on and so on. It came through a series of Guru Parampara, a series of Gurus. We got the Vedas. Therefore, the Vedas are the primary Shastra. They are Apaurusheya, not written by human author. And since they are not written by human author, they are free from human errors. If something is written by human author, it will have the human errors. The knowledge of a human being is always limited, and a human being is often subject to making mistakes. So the Vedas are free from human errors. Therefore, they are very much valid as a source of knowledge. Then there are other texts that are based on the Vedas. They are the secondary texts. They are based on the Vedas. And they are called Smriti. The Vedas are called Shruti. The secondary texts that are based on the Vedas are called Smriti. Even Bhagavadgita is a Smriti. It is based on the Vedas. Therefore, it is called Smriti. Then there is a third level of text. The third level of literature, which is based on both Shruti and Smriti. They are called Purana. So, Shruti, Smriti and Purana. These three are collectively called Shastra. Among them, Shrutis are the primary. Smritis are at the second level, and Purana are at the third level. These are the Shastras. And these Shastras have Vidhi. They have certain instructions regarding how one should conduct one's life. The instructions given in the Shastra are called Shastra Vidhi. If one follows the Shastra Vidhi, then he benefits from his own life. His life becomes meaningful. His life becomes fruitful. Whereas, if one violates the injunctions of the Shastra, by disregarding the injunctions of the Shastra and follows his own desires, his own impulses, what happens? It is being told in this shloka. See the shloka. Yaha Shastra Vidhim Utsrajya. Yaha, an individual, and the individual is the one who has asuri tendencies. First of all, he may be lacking in Shraddha. He doesn't have enough Shraddha in the Shastra. And he thinks, I know better than the Shastra. I am an educated person. I know better than the Shastra. I know better than the rishis who taught the Shastra. And therefore, Shastra vidhim utsrajya, he violates the injunctions of the Shastra. And then, kamakarataha vartate, he behaves under the impulse of his desires. Kamakarataha, under the impulses of his desires, means he follows his desires at the cost of the injunctions of the Shastras, the instructions of the Shastras. If one has to follow the Shastra, his own desires have to be subordinated to the injunctions of the Shastra. His own desires should be made subservient to the injunctions of the Shastra. Because often our likes and dislikes may be in violation of the Shastra. The Shastra says, don't do this, but you want to do that. The Shastra says, don't tell lies, but you are tempted to tell lies. You have a desire to tell lies. But the Shastra says, don't tell lies. Then we have to give up our desires and follow the injunction of the Shastra. That means, in order to follow the injunction of the Shastra, one should be ready to sacrifice one's own desires, one's own likes and dislikes. One cannot say, first of all, I will follow my likes and dislikes. Then, if without sacrificing my likes and dislikes, I can follow the Shastra, to that extent I will follow the Shastra. This is not a proper attitude. In fact, in most cases, that is what we find today. Even those who call themselves dharmika, their priority is their own desires, their own likes and dislikes. Then, to some extent, they will follow some dharma without compromising their likes and dislikes. Where they do not have to compromise with their own likes and dislikes, they will follow some dharma. One day they will celebrate Deepavali. Unfortunately, dharma is reducing to that extent. If somebody is truly following dharma, every moment of his life, every action in his life has to be guided by dharma. And in every moment of his life, he has to sacrifice his desire for the sake of following the injunction or the Shastra. It is the true adherence to Dharma. So, this person whom Bhagavan is discussing, who has asuri sampat, vartate kamakarataha, he follows his own desires, pursues his own likes and dislikes at the cost of Shastra. Then Bhagavan says, what does he lose? Often he may think he is not losing anything. He thinks, I am enjoying my life. Apparently he does not lose anything. But in the long run, he is going to be a great loser. Why? Since he is not following the injunctions of the Shastra, since he is not following the guidelines of the Shastra, he will not get any punya. And since he is not getting any punya, first of all, he will not get happiness in the other world. After death, after this life, he will not have an opportunity to go to higher loka, where he can get sukha. That is the first thing he is losing. He may end up going through adhogati, dog janma, cat janma, etc. That is the first loss. He will not get sukha, means he will not go to swarga, etc. Saha sukham na avapnoti. First I will take sukham na avapnoti. He will not get sukha, means he will not get swargadi loka, higher loka. He will not get. And number 2, saha siddhim na avapnoti. Siddhi means chitta shuddhi. He does not get chitta shuddhi, because in order to get chitta shuddhi, one has to follow the guidelines of the Shastra. One has to do the karmas that are enjoined by the Shastra. It is the way to chitta shuddhi. He is not going to get chitta shuddhi because he has violated the Shastra and he has entertained his own desires. And the third one that he is losing, saha param gatim na avapnoti. He will not get paragati. He will not attain the ultimate goal, which is moksha. Because first of all, he has not attained chitta shuddhi. Without chitta shuddhi, moksha is impossible. Without chitta shuddhi, one cannot get jnana. And without jnana, one cannot get moksha. Therefore, param gatim na avapnoti. He doesn't attain moksha also. This is the magnitude of his loss. He does not get higher loka. He does not get chitta shuddhi. And he does not get moksha. Therefore, in the next shloka, Bhagavan says, make all effort to follow the injunctions of the Shastra. Shloka 24. Tasmat shastram pramanante karya karya vyavasthitau jnatva shastra vidhanoktam karma kartumiharhasi. Yeah. Tasmat, therefore, Bhagavan says, te karya karya vyavasthitau shastram pramanam. Shastra is pramana. The word pramana is often wrongly translated as authority. I am not in agreement with this translation. Often people translate pramana as authority. It is misleading because authority means somebody who exercises his power to make somebody do something. You should do this. A powerful position, somebody who is in a powerful position, who commands others, is called authority. Now, our acharyas have discussed the role of the Shastra. What really Shastra is? The Shastra is not something which pushes you to do something. Technically, there are two words, Jnapaka and Karaka. Karaka means the one who pushes you to do something, the one who makes you do something with the stick. If you don't do this, I will punish you. You have to do this. If you do this only, I will give you money. So you have to do this. Otherwise, I will remove you from the job. Such a person is called Karaka, one who pushes you to do something. Such a Karaka can be called an authority. But then, our acharyas have discussed and concluded, Shastra is not a Karaka, it is only a Jnapaka. Jnapaka means something that makes you know something. It is a means of knowledge. Just like our eyes. If we have to travel somewhere where we should put our steps, where there is pothole, we can see with our eyes. We put every step looking at the path with our eyes. So eyes are also jnapaka. They make us know certain facts. And anything that makes us know certain facts is called pramana. Our eyes are pramana. Likewise, even the Shastra is pramana because it makes us understand something. It educates us regarding certain unknown facts. When the Shastra says, you have to do this, the Shastra simply means, if you do this, it is good for you. If you do this, you will get punya. As per the law of karma, as per the cosmic law of karma, you will get punya if you do a particular type of action. And if you do certain wrong actions, you will get papa. And it is also as per the cosmic law of karma. It is revealed by the Shastra. Therefore, Shastra is a jnapaka. It makes us understand certain facts. What is right and what is wrong in relation to the universal law of karma. What pays us, what is desirable to us, and what kind of actions are harmful to us. Therefore, Shastra is not an authority. If you follow the Shastra does not have anything to gain. If you do not follow the Shastra does not have anything to lose. Then who will gain, who will lose? We will gain, we will lose. The Shastra is teaching us for our own good, our own benefit. Unlike an authority commands somebody for his own benefit. Whereas Shastra is only a jnapaka. It makes you know certain facts. Therefore, it is called pramanam. Shastra is pramana. Pramana for what? Karya karya vyavasthito. It is pramana to understand the distinction between karya and akarya. Karya means the right action, the action that one should do, the action that leads to one's spiritual upliftment, or the action that gives punya is called karya. Karya itself is called dharma. The karya which is revealed by the Shastra is called dharma. And then there is akarya. Akarya is the action that one should not do. In other words, the action that leads to papa, the action that leads to undesirable result invisibly, is called akarya. Akarya itself is called adharma. The actions that are prohibited by the Shastra. So what is karya and what is akarya? To understand the distinction, to understand what is karya and to understand what is akarya, Shastra is the pramana. Therefore, Bhagavan says, first of all, one should make effort to understand the Shastra. Even in that respect, there is a lot of indifference. People don't even want to know what the Shastra says. Often people are interested in learning things that are materially beneficial to them. But if somebody says, study the Shastra, it is not their priority. They are not interested. There is indifference to educate oneself as well as educate the others, the children, etc., with respect to the Shastra. Therefore, Bhagavan says, Shastra vidhanoktam karma jnatva. One should first of all know what the Shastra says. Shastra vidhanoktam karma. The karma which is revealed by the Shastra vidhana, revealed by the injunctions of the Shastra. One should understand. One should first educate oneself regarding what one should do and what one should not do according to the Shastra. And then, iha kartum arhasi. Iha, in this janma, in this human birth, kartum arhasi. You should do the karma which is told by the Shastra. Bhagavan is telling Arjuna specifically, arhasi. It is second person. You should do the karma which is told by the Shastra. If you want to save yourself from downfall and if you want to attain chitta shuddhi and moksha. With this, the chapter comes to an end. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.